cousin.
Hey, cousin.
Welcome to Calling Cousins. This is Cousin Ash, married with two kids, a boy and a girl, calling from Arizona. We want to thank everyone for joining us today.
Cousin Shaw here. I'm a single mom of one boy, calling from Colorado. Parenting can be beautiful, but it can also be ugly. We hope that these topics bring you and your family some knowledge and understanding.
And remember, silence is golden unless you have a toddler.
Right. The topic we have for today is schooling options. And we might have an article for this one, but either way, it'll be in the description. I think we just kind of Googled it and went from there.
Basically, we just Googled the types of different schooling options you have. We're just going to kind of give you our opinion. You can do your own research if you want to do more. I do not have an article, but there's so many. The reason I didn't want to do the article is because I feel like articles would be focusing on school specific, and obviously we cannot talk about every single school in this whole world. So I
What are
figured
you
just be
talking about?
easier to talk about.
All right. So the first one is traditional public schools. These are neighborhood schools operated by the local school district and are often the default option for families within that district. So this is like what I feel like
The
is more
the
from
main
our
one.
generation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah,
know. I feel
definitely.
like a lot more schools have become more popular throughout the years, but like everybody that I know went to just public school. I maybe know a couple kids that were homeschooled.
I don't even think I actually know anybody that's homeschooled, but I know a couple private schools or whatever, but mostly public school was just the thing. And that's pretty common, so most people know what public schools are. But we were just going to go through all these lists and kind of give you like our visions of the pros and cons of each of them. Um, and then we'll just kind of go one at a time. So, I don't know about cousin, but my I would say my only pro for public school, two pros. It's close and free.
Well, I will say that I also like the bus picking up, but for older kids, because like right now, I don't
You
think I would
know,
feel comfortable with that.
yes, this is true. I would also not feel comfortable. But I learned the other day, my friend takes her kids to public school, and they live too close to the school to get the bus. So he has
What?
to walk home. I didn't know that was a thing.
Me
So it's
neither.
like
But I
if
will
you live
say,
less than a mile, they won't, because I'm wondering if it just takes so much time, but it's like, can't you just make one stop for if you live less than a mile, you have to come to this. Because like my ass, when we were out in Elizabeth, we had to trek like super far to get to our bus stops.
right, you're
Like
way
I
in the middle of
remember,
BFE.
yeah, I remember my friend, she had, man, how far was hers? Oh no, hers was the closest. That's right. Hers was like two neighbors down. Mine was like a half a mile. Like it was rough. And we had to like
Yeah.
walk there at like and oh hers was rough though because she had to get up and be at the bus stop by 5:30 in the morning. And because the bus alone, it took about an hour and a half, I think, to pick everybody up and get them to school. So she was like the third stop, I think.
Oh, I don't know which I would prefer, walking a half mile or waking up that early.
Well, honestly, I don't even think my half a mile had anything to do with the time I was picked up. I think she was just I remember hers sucked because I had to wake up so much earlier. But they do get the farther kids out first, I think. They would like
Yeah.
start far and then so yeah, it would depend on where your parent chose to live. And then they just pick random spots. I don't know how they pick. Like mine was actually like in another kid's driveway. Like I think they had to like get approval from the homeowner be like, "Hey, can a bunch of kids pile up here in the morning?" Like because those people have to like leave for work and stuff. So, um,
Right.
but anyways, yeah, they were too close. They want my other friends, they're too close, and he has to walk to and from school. He's 13, so he's fine. But I never knew that was a thing. So yes, buses is super nice if you
But I
trust
will
them.
say something else that happened with buses. Sorry, just while we're on the negative topic of it, because I agree they are super nice, but like in the Douglas County School District in Colorado, they
Mhm.
had it. They were so limited on bus drivers, they could not find staffing for bus drivers, so they had a rotation schedule. So it was like your kid had like 2 weeks with a bus route and then 2 weeks without a bus route and then 2 weeks with a bus route. So
What?
like during those, yeah, isn't that the craziest things? Like during those every 2 weeks or whatever, maybe it was like 2 weeks on, 1 week off, but they had to rotate it. So these kids, like these parents had to figure out what to do for 1 week.
I don't
Um,
get it. I don't get
yeah.
it.
And so like these parents like
I'm
having to take turns with carpooling and all this stuff. And like, a lot of people work. You can't just do that. And so it was really inconvenient and just like, I don't know, just so baffling. Like how could you even do that to people when this is supposed to be a service provided by the school? But if they don't have the staffing for it, what else are they supposed
they
to
can't.
do?
They can't. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
nuts.
gosh, that's insane. That's insane. Okay, so we've pretty much summed up that buses can be pros or con.
Yeah, pretty
It's
much.
both
We
sides.
got nowhere like usual.
But the cons, I have lots of public school cons.
Yeah,
Um, my main one is the class size. I hate the class size. And they have to do that. Like I always wondered, I'm like, why do they do it so like why do they make them so big? It's because they have to accept every kid in a certain area, right?
yeah.
Um, so their class sizes have to keep going up and up. Which I'm like that drives me bonkers. And then I also don't like how public school teachers are treated because since they're
Agreed.
treated like crap, I feel like they treat our kids like
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there have been plenty of times in my job where I'm mad at somebody and take it out on whoever I'm talking to.
the
So
customer or
like,
whatever.
yeah, like imagine that from a teacher standpoint where you're like, your mom sent me a bitter email, or not even that, but like the principal is mad at me
This
because
school
of this
sucks.
situation. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's all
It's the
your fault.
what is it's the chain effect or triangle, not triangle, pyramid effect or whatever. So it's like the top person yells and at the person below him, and then that person yells at the person below him, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's why we have so many grumpy teachers. They're put through so much crap right now, and like the reason we're talking about this, by the way, is we're going through our kids starting school again for the year, and I also learned school supplies. They're outrageous right now. One of my friends said, and she's taken her daughter. Is she in kindergarten yet? I think her daughter is in kindergarten. The two things that stood out to me was 18 glue sticks
What?
and 24 pencils.
The 24 pencils I can understand,
The only reason
but
it makes sense for the
18 glue
24
sticks.
pencils was because they're erasers, but I'm like, just buy erasers. But yeah, they should not be going. A kindergartner should not be writing that much
No,
to
but I
have
think that they
24
break them a
pencils.
lot. I don't know, maybe not, because I don't know.
You know,
But yeah,
that's
that's pretty wild.
they could just cut them in half and then have two pencils, but whatever. And then they're not as easily broken. But yeah, the 18 glue sticks was I was cracking up.
That's pretty crazy.
So yeah, school supply sucks. And I get it, especially with public school, is sometimes they have like they ask for a ton for those families that can't, and then it kind of covers all the kids in the class. Um, but also if the kids are breaking the pencils, teach them how to not break the pencils. I don't know. I'm not a teacher. I will never be a teacher. I don't know that struggle, especially with a kindergartner. But yeah. I'm trying to think of all the any other cons. Do you have any cons for the public schools? Oh,
Well, I do.
obviously the government involvement. I don't like how they control what they learn.
Yeah, that's fair. And I do also struggle with the school safety because their funds are always going elsewhere, so they can't. Like I was so funny that we were just talking about this because I was talking to my coworker and she actually just moved from California to Colorado, and she was like,
Okay.
it's so bizarre because in Colorado there's no fences around the schools. Like there's no security fence. It's
Weird.
just open. And so in California, it's all like blocked off. And I was like, well, some schools
Like a
do because
prison.
yeah, but you don't want people to come in either. So like
No, I know, but
our
I feel like if I went to California and I was putting my kid in a school that had a fence around the perimeter, I would be like, "Am I not safe? Is this not safe? Should I not be here?"
well, okay, I'm not talking about like crazy, like you can still see through it. I don't know, but like I don't know. I agree with that because one of the things that I was looking for when my son started kindergarten was a closed off playground because I was like, I don't want him to be able to leave, and I don't want,
Okay. Oh yeah, my
yeah, and I
son's
don't
school
want
is like
anybody
that.
else to come. Yeah, so like that's something I was looking for. But the school that she, that to me that was a charter school that I found, and I'm trying to think of like what the public schools look like in the same area, and I literally don't think that they were there. Like I
Yeah,
feel like
my high school wasn't that way. I think my elementary school was, but that's because balls and stuff. They like go flying and then get into the street. I think that's more why. Maybe it is for the kids, but I always looked at it for the balls. Get it?
yeah, you dork. The balls. Another thing about safety with schools is that I know it's becoming more popular and I really appreciate that, but the SROs, the school resource officers,
Yes.
um, in charter schools, I feel like they're a lot more common because since we'll talk about charter schools in a second, but that's just let everybody know that's where I have my kid, and I've had him in charter school even through like when we lived in Colorado and now in Arizona, and so I'm a big fan of charter schools. But they since they're not paying for the bus routes and the bus staff and all that kind of stuff, they can put their money elsewhere. And so something that they do is they do the RS or sorry, I always want to say RSO, the SRO. And that makes me feel really comforted because it's an actual police officer. Like they show up in a cruiser and everything and dressed in their uniform, the whole nine, and they just walk around the school. And the thing that I love also is that they're very like, at least the ones that I've been in contact with, and it's been a few now. um they love being around the kids. They love
Hmm.
like they know about the kids and their families and that kind of stuff, so it's really personal. But also, like every time I went in there to volunteer, they were walking around. And the only time I remember having security in my high school, but I don't remember any other security in any other school that I was in. And I transferred schools like 13 different times. So
Yeah.
that's pretty,
I'm
that's crazy.
I can't remember security in any of my schools. We had a security person as a staff member when I was in high school, but she wasn't like, a cop or anything like that. Um,
Right. Same here.
but does
Same here.
does your does your charter school pay the salary of your SRO?
I'm pretty sure. So,
Okay. I wasn't sure if that's
yeah.
how SROs are assigned, because that's how my son's school is. That um, I know we're going to get into all of this, but I put my son in a private school, and we as in the parents who pay the tuition, pay for his salary. So it's not a government like they had like the school had to interview him and hire him and that kind of stuff. But like you said, he's always there before and after hours. He knows all of us parents by name, the kids by name, obviously. Um, yeah, it's a great and like my SRO, and I don't know if this is normal, but he actually teaches safety classes to the kids as well as adults. So he'll schedule stuff um like one of them he brought us as in the adults, the parents, and he was teaching us all about the fear of the internet. And I don't want to get too far into it, but basically, yeah, he was teaching us safety on things to pay attention to our kids. It's kind of, I looked at it kind of like Dare, how when we took Dare and we learned about drugs and that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. That's what he did, but on an adult level, not on a child level, to tell us the things that we needed to pay attention to within our kids. And then he would have classes along the same line, but at a kid appropriate level, um, of stay away from drugs and online and that kind of stuff, as well. So he was actually kind of like a teacher mentor to them, um,
Okay.
and the security.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
But
it's a.
anyway, we kind of detoured too. We're jumping ahead
Anyways, yes,
to schools.
we'll
Yes.
get there.
But
Yeah.
that's
Well,
another con that I feel like is about traditional public schools because I just feel like, and now, I mean, as unfortunate as it is with all of, the shootings and stuff that have been happening in
mhm.
schools, I feel like this is something that's a pressing matter and they are doing something to work on it, but it's still a huge concern for me because honestly, I feel like some people don't take it seriously because, what are the odds of that happening to our school and blah, blah,
That would
blah.
never happen. Yeah, for sure. Well, and
Exactly. And,
didn't you mention, or maybe somebody in our family mentioned that there's like retired cops or whatever can volunteer, and like they have an organization or whatever that can volunteer at schools, and so they're not like a staff, and they're not um yes, I mean legally they can still carry a gun, but I don't know the legality of all that kind of stuff.
yeah, that's a whole nother. I
But I
think, okay,
thought
so I
they
think it was
did
retired
that, or
military,
military. Oh, okay.
but I think it's a program that they tried to put in place. But there are so many things that
Maybe it was just a
are,
conversation of how it was a good idea. But yeah, there is definitely legalities, because what if something happens? What if, like, are they allowed to? I don't know if they're allowed to carry on site.
well, and I think the thing is like the vetting process to find somebody just off the street to take care of that would be so extreme. Like you don't know if they have PTSD, you don't know if they're going to be triggered, you don't know how they react in crisis.
Well,
Like,
searches do it.
yeah, I agree, but like they also
Hmm,
have like the repertoire or whatever. Like they get to know the person first and then you have to volunteer and all that kind of stuff to do it, right? So, and you have to do a background check. And I mean, I guess a
for
background check,
sure.
but that doesn't tell you everything. Like, um, I don't know. That makes me nervous because I don't know that person. Like I guess I sound stupid because I also don't know the police officer, but I know the police officer did all the schooling for X amount of years to
Right.
to get where they are, and like maybe if they offered that, but I don't know how many veterans are going to want to put their time into doing something like that for free to go work for practically free. And that was the whole point. Like the conversation that we were having, I believe, was with our grandma, and she said there are so many retired veterans out there just sitting on their butts wishing that they could help do something and they can't. And I agree with that. Like they,
Yeah.
you want to go out there, you want to be needed. And
Because
honestly, if they
they
took like
do it for free. Like
2 hour shifts, yeah.
you'd be
And
surprised
yeah,
on how addictive volunteer work can be, especially when it's
yeah,
protecting people.
I agree. But and yeah, like if they were like on 2 hour shifts just rotating through every day, then it would be totally fine because then they wouldn't get burnt out and whatever, and they would still feel needed and all that stuff. But again, the vetting process coming through, and I don't know. I do wish it. I hope that it's something that is looked into in the future and they figure out a good process. And I hope that it's one of those things that just works out and is magical and one person doesn't ruin it for everybody
Yeah.
like everything
Oh
else.
man.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
seriously
I feel
though.
like the main reason I didn't choose a public school was because of the safety concerns that I had.
Oh yeah, mine was a slew of things, but that is a big one, definitely. Mm.
Okay.
The next one here is charter schools, which we've kind of already talked about it, but I'll actually let cousin Ash talk about it more since she has experience with charter schools. I do have a friend that teaches at a charter school, and she's kind of told me a bit about it, but I feel like Ash would know more.
Um, yeah. So
Put
I
you on the spot.
so I did. Sorry, I didn't know. I was like, "Are you gonna say the description?" No, we're good. Okay, we're just rolling in. Okay.
Oh no,
Now
I'm
now
sorry.
I'm
I could
awkward.
have. Okay.
Um, but
Let me
for
say the description for
okay,
those that don't know.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
Publicly funded but independently run charter schools offer specialized programs or focus on special or specific educational philosophies.
Okay. So what I love about this is that charter schools are free, right? So like it's still a free public school. Um, but they have, since they cut back on costs, like I was mentioning before with the buses and stuff like that, they can increase their costs elsewhere. So I feel like specifically, and this is just my experience with charter schools, obviously they aren't all like this, and I do want to go into something else in a minute, but what I like about them is that they're free. And if so, the big concern that we had is, when I'm working, sometimes I have to work a little bit later at work and then I can't go grab my son when I need to and all this stuff. And it became a problem. But if you are in that situation, they also offer after school care, obviously. And so it's an extra fee, but your kids can stay until you get off work. And usually they work on homework and stuff during that time. So it's really convenient for parents. But obviously paying for after school care in a charter school is probably going to be more expensive than paying for after school care at a traditional public school.
Right.
But other things that I loved about charter schools is that their class sizes were smaller. And again,
Yeah,
that
how
could
big are
just be
your
the
classes?
I mean, they're still fairly big, but I feel like it's smaller than public schools. But the last one that I went to, I believe, had a cap at 20 students. This one, I think, had a cap, but they've increased it, and now we're at 28 students.
Oh, so you're getting up there. Darn it. Okay. It's probably because there's such a high demand and everybody wants to be in a charter school. And it used to be very, unique, or not unique, but I should say quaint maybe. I think they did keep it at lower. That was one of their perks, was the lower class sizes. Um, but their waiting lists were outrageous. And you would have to be on a waiting list for like 2 years.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I just Googled it while we were talking about it, and it says Um, generally it's 25, but may reach up to 33 students. So, well, there goes that out the window for a perk for charter schools, at
Darn
least out
it.
here.
Yeah,
But
because what's the public schools say then? I thought public
that's
schools
what
were
it is.
around 30.
That's what the public schools are. So if we're at 28, like we're already over the 25
Oh,
student.
that was a public school. I thought that was a charter
Yeah,
school. Look up.
nope.
Dang.
That's
Okay.
definitely. But I will say that I did a lot more research with the school that he went to in Colorado and not as much research with this school out here in Arizona. Because my cousins, your brother and sister-in-law, did
Mhm.
all the research already. And so I was just like, cool. So I just threw my kid in. And that led to a problem with their allergies as well. But it's okay.
Right.
It's okay. We're working through it. We're on year 2
It's
out here,
pine.
so
It's
it's gonna
pine.
be fine. Um, but something that I do like, and again, this is different. Like the teacher that my son had last year, I really had a hard time with her. And she said that she had come from a Montessori. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that I
Like,
was actually I meant to put that on here, but that did not come up in my Google search. But I don't know if there's public. They're more kind of like a preschool daycare type view
well,
now.
it's student led, right? It's like the student leads the way that we go and whatever. So anyway, the
Hmm.
teacher that he had at his charter school came from a Montessori charter school. So they were more like student led. And his school right now is an accelerated program where it's very teacher led. So she had a hard time, and I didn't realize this until after, he'd already left for the summer. But because she was so used to the other way of things, she really had a hard time thriving in that environment. And my son really had a hard time thriving in that environment. I feel like it's because she was saying one thing, but then, I think she would have a talk with the principal or the leads of her department or whatever, and then have to switch gears. And so it was very hard for the kids to keep track with her. Um, but I think that how the teachers do it, how it's very teacher led, is easier for them to follow or to have the kids follow because I don't know, like it's very when you walk into those classrooms, it is quiet and it is bizarre, but it's not what I remember from elementary school. And maybe it's like too harsh, but at the same time, I feel like my kids could use some of that,
Okay.
like focus. And
Yeah,
I
I do
just
think it
feel
depends on the kid. Yeah.
yeah, I agree. And there are obviously some teachers in that school that are a little more like fun, a little, teachers that are more strict, but you're gonna find that in every school. But something that I think is popular in public schools is that it's more the student led, like, I remember at least in my elementary school, um, a teacher asking if we wanted to do math or reading, at that point in time, and we were all like, oh, let's do reading, blah blah blah. Like it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't a
Gross.
schedule. it
Oh,
wasn't a
that's
schedule at that
interesting.
point. So, but that could have also just been my one of my schools because it's a small town. But anyway, I'm derailing again. Um,
Oh, you're fine.
but charter schools, and then also both charter schools that he was in were an accelerated program. So I believe that like now, or back when he was in first grade, he was learning second grade stuff.
Okay,
So
but I was
I
gonna
do
ask what
like
you
that
meant by
too.
accelerated. I guess I've never heard that phrase, but I assumed it was where the kid can actually go into a different class to stay challenged instead of holding them back, essentially.
I think that they do have that program. Like right now, so my son is in second grade, he's 7 years old, and the girl sitting next to him is only I think the lady said she was 6.5 or something like that. So like she was so tiny, like this tiny little girl, and she was sitting
That's
right
not
next to my
that.
son. And I was like, maybe she said she just turned 6. I don't know. And I was like, she must have started kindergarten really early, or she's just a tiny girl. But
Well, yeah,
either way,
because
the mom.
last year, yeah, they had a kindy in the first.
Hmm.
So yeah, they just might be
But
on the young spectrum though, because I mean we have 7 up to 8 year olds in one class. So 6 to 7 isn't that? Are you sure she wasn't younger?
well, because I think so. Like right now, he should be 7 to 8 year old, and she was 6. So it was bizarre hearing that she was 6. You know what I mean? It's
Okay,
like
maybe
she's
so
like
she's
a
just a
year
grade
behind.
younger. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, it's I think that they do that also. Like I think you can test and be put into a higher grade. But then they also have a bunch of programs in there. Like they had a shoot, I can't remember what it's called. But the kids got invite like if they were excellent students, they got invited to join this program, and it was like an exceptional student program or something. So they got pulled out of class to like learn stuff, and I think it was like to see if they were on the genius scale. Um,
Oh.
and it was just really cool, and like that was school wide, like they did it for every single grade. And then I don't know if the teachers picked or what, but anyway, it was really interesting.
Yeah, that
um
is interesting. I do want to add one thing. My teacher friend, she worked at a Montessori and she loved it and it was very STEM related, which this kind of leads into the next one. Um, Also, and we can kind of talk about both of these, but the magnet schools, and the definition is public schools that are specialized programs and attract students from across the district. I thought magnet school was more STEM related, so I thought magnet was kind of Montessori. She came from a Montessori school and she loved it, but she's now at this charter school. And she said, when you were talking about the student led portion, she said they actually have a parent teacher conference that is student led. So the
we
student
had
comes
that
in.
too.
You did too? Yeah, it sounds so
Yeah.
cute. So yeah, the parents come in and the student tells them anything. This is where I'm at. This is what we do on a daily basis and that kind of stuff. And the teacher just sits there. And my friend told me that she's like, it's my favorite one because I literally just sit there and it's so cute to watch each kid just go through their paperwork and say it differently or what's important to them and that kind of stuff. And which I loved that. So I think charter, and I don't know, I mean, I know charter schools have been around, but I feel like the Montessori ones are starting to um, like disappear, or they're just kind of transitioning into the charter slash these magnet schools.
So there's also one around our area that is uh it's a charter Christian school. So it's like I wonder if that's
Yeah,
it,
that's
because
normal.
it's a specialized program. Well, no, 'cause it's Christian, right? So some people probably might not want Christian to be taught in their school, but it was there. But it's charter school, so it's still technically a public school. And then there's also one that's a little bit like in the town over, and it's called Academy of Math and Science. And so that's like specific to the STEM thing, like you were talking about, where it
Okay.
focuses on that, and it's more like technology based. And some parents might want their kids to be more like art based, so they don't want them
Right.
at that school. So
Or they
I
don't
think that
know.
you're right. Yeah, right. I mean,
Yeah, I
I
feel
told
like
my husband that if that school was closer to us, I definitely would have had my kid go there, because it just looks cool. Like I don't
it
know, the
just
building
looks
looks like some kind of
Apple.
museum or something. I don't
Oh.
know. You dork, an
I
apple.
always no, like the Apple store. I always think of
Oh.
like Google too is like um when I'm thinking of like a STEM school, it's like it's
Hmm.
based off like a Google, the Google business, whatever the heck it's called.
Right, right. Okay, so to circle back up to charter schools real quick, I want to talk about the volunteering. So
Yes.
the first school my son was in, they had a strict, like every family had to volunteer for, shoot, I can't remember. It was like 22 hours a year or something like that. Like
Which
if it felt like a lot. and it kind of was a lot, but it's not a lot. I don't know. It
It,
was
it
it was
it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is quite a bit.
yeah. Yeah. And then this one, thankfully, it's only 12, like 12 hours, and they don't keep track of it. So
And
I like
didn't
this school much better.
didn't your Colorado one do the if you buy extra stuff that costs or got you an hour worth of volunteer? So like if you bought two
Yeah.
bags of marshmallows, you'd get an extra hour taken off or something. I thought that was
Well,
so
yeah,
funny.
it was for the candy or the trick or treat or trunk or treat. They had
Uh-huh.
it, and so if you donated candy, like for every bag of candy, and it had to be a specific weight too. It's like it had to be like 5 pounds or over, or maybe 2 pounds or over, or whatever.
Yeah. Don't come in
Then
with the
you got
share sauce.
right, right. Then you got, X amount of money. And I love that because sometimes parents can't volunteer. Like you don't have the time, you work, and you just like in my situation, it was very
Right.
frustrating because I had my daughter at home with me all the time, and I had to find a babysitter to watch her so I could go volunteer at the school. I even
But yeah.
tried like putting her on my back so that I could do safety, like the parking lot or whatever. Like I put her in like the little backpack thing or whatnot. And I was like, yeah, I can direct traffic. I walked into the class or into the front office and I was like, hey, I'm here to volunteer. And they were like, you have your daughter with you. And I'm like, yeah, clearly. And then they were like, that's you need to go home. And I was like, okay,
Oh
cool.
man.
So it was really hard. So I love that I was able to do it with the money because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do it at all. It was so annoying.
Well, and that is one thing, like with public schools, they don't do the volunteer. I mean, I think they do the volunteer, but I feel like more public schools expect the child to volunteer rather than, like in my high school or whatever, they would have concessions and that kind of stuff, and the kid would volunteer at the concession stand or whatever.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I parents can volunteer for like being chaperones on field trips, but I feel like that's more for the
oh yeah,
parents too.
chaperones.
Parents that love
Yeah,
that. So I
yeah.
agree. I don't remember much volunteering with the public schools.
Yeah, and but that is one thing with the charter is you do have to volunteer more. And so
Yeah.
then that kind of brings us into public or private schools here. Private school, you do not have to volunteer. You do not have to um bring extra candy bags or that kind of stuff. And so okay, so like my son, I know that always corrects me. My son is in a private school, and obviously the big con to it is the tuition. And but like for instance, when I brought up the what you call it supply list, um we do not have to really provide that many supplies. So I think we're getting a Bible and then that's it. And then the school will figure out the rest. But because that's a part of the tuition. And so, oh,
Okay.
and another thing we forgot to mention to we keep circling back. There's just so much to cover in all of these different areas. Uh, was uniforms. So traditional public schools, there is no uniform. Typically in a charter school, there is uniform. I don't know if magnet schools have uniforms. I would assume some sort. But private schools definitely have a uniform too. And I am pro uniform. Um,
Same. I was just about to say that.
yeah, because it's just so much easier. You think it's annoying because you have to buy specific attire and it adds to your financial struggle if you have one. But it's so much easier to dress your kid. It's so much easier to be like, nope, that's that's you don't have to tell them it's appropriate. You just tell them that the school won't allow it.
Yeah. I mean, because I heard like I'm gonna get into kind of a touchy subject for some people, but like, you know, these kids nowadays are dressing a little bit differently. Some kids are. And
Mhm.
I heard that Arizona school district removed their dress code, or like Phoenix school district removed their dress code
I
completely because
I think we talked about
some
that because go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry. I'm gonna
somebody said it was sexist because like a guy could walk in, wearing something inappropriate. And I feel like the teachers are kind of scared to correct that because they don't want to get in trouble for like, being biased against gender
sexist or
equality or
something.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, like your sexual orientation. That's what I'm trying to say. So like a guy could pretty much go in wearing shorty shorts, and the teacher in my like how I saw this anyway was like too scared because they didn't want to get in trouble for, being like,
Profiling,
you know,
basically.
yeah, exactly. So they didn't
Yeah.
say anything. So then that led to all the girls wearing shorty shorts and them getting in trouble for it because it's not fair that the guy can walk around like that, but the girls can't walk around like that. And so it turned into this whole thing, and I believe it became a lawsuit, and I can look into that later. But I actually just Googled it, and they have not removed their dress code, but it said they have loosened it. So um
Well, weren't we
they're
talking
like
about it where
allowing
like
crop tops and stuff.
yeah, and like they were like the students were showing up in bikinis and stuff?
Yeah, and that's what I had heard, like that girls were showing up in bikini tops and shorts, and like that was totally with the dress code. And I feel
That's
like
so crazy.
instead of making it more lax, I would have made it more strict. Like you guys have to wear full length, like no crop tops, full length t-shirts. So like they're t-shirts, they cover your shoulders or whatever. And like you have to wear everything below the knees, like so
Yeah.
capris or pants or whatever. And in Arizona, that's really hard because people can like talk about the heat out here, and it's just like it's not right, to tell kids that they can't wear shorts when it's extremely uncomfortable and they're standing at the bus stop in 100-degree
Yeah.
weather. So like I get that, and that it's a really hard conversation, and I don't foresee that conversation so much like in Colorado. But out here I do see that being a problem. But either way, I feel like instead of making it more lax where everybody can wear whatever they want, I would have tightened it up and been like absolutely not. And so I agree. I'm so pro dress code. I love it, and
It's
it's worth the cost to me.
yeah, it takes off a lot of stress. And then it's funny because like the first year it's a higher cost, but if you buy big, it'll last them the next year, it'll go into 2 years. And then, the next year you only have to buy a few, which is not as costly. So it's oh my
Yeah,
gosh, so much worth it. I'm obsessed.
I
The other
agree.
thing
And
I
then,
I
oh,
wanted to add real quick with with uniforms was I actually do know there's a public school out in Colorado that did have a little bit of a dress code, but the reason was they couldn't wear red and blue.
ah, I remember that.
Yeah, so I guess that's not necessarily a dress code, but um,
A
yeah. So
rule.
a
Just
rule, yeah, just yeah. So anyways, we are pro dress codes.
yeah. And I do know like some like the first charter school my son went to, they had a program. And I think one of the schools that your son went to, I think it was the preschool, but they had it where you could turn in your lightly used
Yep.
uniforms,
My his
and then you
current
could
school does that.
buy. Oh, okay. So it's like a
Yeah.
buyback program, right? So you can like turn in
No,
if it,
actually,
oh,
it's all donated.
oh, okay. Well,
His
I mean,
school
even
is.
then, that's fine. And then because you just turn in your clothes if they're still like looking nice and no tears
Uh-huh.
or
No
stains or
tears
whatever.
and stains. Yep.
And then you can use that as like, I think somebody gives a discount if you donate, or you get a certain amount of money off or whatever to buy other donated clothes. So you can like do that. Our charter school out here does not do that, which is unfortunate, but honestly, that it helps the cost so much. And I think actually they do have, like we went to back to school night, there was a whole shelf in the back with
Mhm.
clothes back there, and I didn't go check it out, but I was like, I wonder if they're like for free, or
Oh man.
somebody said that they were the ones just left in the lost and found, but it didn't seem like a lot of jackets. I don't know. Anyway, it's some schools offer that also.
Well, I was gonna say that's what my school does is so they do I think they just call it a uniform exchange. And so you bring the slightly used and you can take slightly used. So it's just a swap. There's no money or anything. And then same thing with the lost and found. Like they'll send out constant reminders and tell people, hey, get your lost and found, get your lost and found. But then like I think it's every quarter, they're just like, hey, do you want a free shirt? Hey, do you want a free jacket? And because they want it gone and they want people to
Right.
utilize it. And if they're those that aren't paying attention to lost jackets and shirts, and there's even pants, and I'm like, how do these kids like lose their, I don't understand. But like so they are constantly like, I think so like last year I got my gosh, I feel like I got like 7 shirts, 5 sweaters, just from the lost and found rack. And then I knew a family that was actually leaving the school. They were moving state, and so they had no use of the uniform. So they're like, "Here, do you want more?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." And so then I just like I picked out of theirs, and then whichever ones um I didn't need, I'm bringing to the donation thing. But yeah, so there's definitely different ways, but I am all for um uniform.
Yeah, I
Okay,
agree.
now we can move on to some other options, which we are also a fan of. I feel like I've brought up a
Yeah.
couple, so you can bring it up.
Okay. This one, homeschooling.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't feel I need to read the description on this one. It's when you teach your kids at home. Um,
Parents educate their children at home, often following a specific curriculum or educational approach. See,
there you go.
AI
Nailed
makes it sound way better.
it. Um, but this one we have both considered slash are considering.
And
I
have tested. We've
yeah.
tested it.
Well, you more than me. But
I feel like
well,
you more than oh no, you did the
the
other one.
next
Okay.
one, yeah, yeah. Wait, you're jumping
Ah,
ahead. God, chill
sorry,
out.
sorry. Okay, well, I have
But
tried the
yeah,
homeschooling because now that I have a work from home job, it's a possibility for me. And a big pro to homeschooling is like for me, I don't have to wake up as early. I can let him sleep in, I can sleep in. Another big pro of homeschooling is the schooling only takes about like 3 hours. And I think that's all grade levels. I haven't heard anybody, the people that I know, and I know a lot of people that do homeschooling. Um, I don't think it matters what age they are. It's about 3 hours because if you think about when you send a kid to school, you have to get into class, settle everybody down, do some work, take a snack break, do some work, take a coloring break. Well, maybe not with our kids taking coloring breaks, but there's lunches, there's transferring between classes, there's the extracurricular classes that don't necessarily need a whole hour's worth, of time.
yeah,
So it's like the actual school part only takes about 3 hours when you get like the main math, literacy, and um, writing.
like social studies and oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well,
Mm.
yeah, and then like the history, you can take them to a museum, and that can be like a whole day is just history. You can do
Or like
science. You can
literally
go
watch
to
documentaries.
yeah, yeah, um, yeah. So it's like there's so many different ways you can do it. So homeschooling has a lot of pros. Obviously, it's free. Actually, you can get. I don't know if this is all states, but you can. The state will actually pay you. I don't know what it's called, but they'll send you a check for if you're a homeschool parent.
Yeah,
Uh,
they
Um,
do it out here in Arizona too. I know somebody that does it. She gets a lot of money for it too. I don't know if it's a specific grant, but it's like
yeah,
for like she bought
Colorado,
desks and all
yeah.
like expensive stuff for her kids.
Yeah, Colorado does about I think it's $4,000 a kid.
Okay.
They'll give back to you, but I tested it during the summer so that yes, it's a possibility. I wanted to see if one, I am not a patient person, so I'm not the best at it, but I wanted to see if I could do it. I was capable of doing it. And we did okay. Like it definitely there was hard moments, and my biggest thing actually is trying to work while doing it is very hard because I get distracted and then I'm like, "Hey, do this." And then I trust that he does that, and that's where I'm mistaken. Um
Yeah.
because he does not do it. He gets distracted, and then all of a sudden he's just making play noises, which I'm used to hearing play noises, and then I don't really think about it. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, an hour passed and you haven't done the 3 math problems I asked you to do," you know? So it's like
Right.
you really need to be dedicated and focus on them, but it's still very tempting, I tell you what.
I always told my husband, even before I had done all my research into school, like before we even had kids, I was like, listen, I'm going to offer like homeschooling to our kids when they get into middle school or high school because of bullies. And I know it sounds so lame. And I know my kids need to like
Oh,
learn how to fight for themselves. But like, if
no,
they,
but I
I don't
was
know.
just gonna bring that up. That's a big reason why I wanna do it. Well, mine's not bullies, mine's because the influences. I don't want to
Yes.
deal with the bad influences because, I don't I've been struggling with that, trying to teach the bad influences out of my child. When
Yeah.
he's not doing it, he's just being taught it, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And there are so many things that I feel like, so like my little sister, we're 9 years apart. So she was still like in high school when I was, married and having kids and stuff.
Mhm.
And she she was finishing high school when COVID hit, and she went all remote, like all online school and whatever. And that was
Yeah.
she tells me still to this day, that was the only reason she passed, because she did so much better at home. She was like, I was able to do, I was able to wake up and like just roll into my thing. And I was like focusing just on that. I wasn't focusing on like the social aspect of things. I wasn't focused on this like during school. I wasn't stressing about who was whispering behind me, like all these
Oh,
things that
yeah.
your stupid teenage brain, because I remember it too, felt. It was just totally gone, and it was just you in your bedroom doing your homework.
Do you
And
think that
she
messes
thrived.
do you think that messes with them socially, though? I mean, not necessarily her specifically, she might be a bad example of that, but
um I think there have been many studies on it, especially since COVID, because I think that it did kind of mess up some kids' social cues. And I feel like as a younger person, definitely. That's where I told Corey that I was like, I want the kids to be at least in school through elementary so that they can learn the basics, right? Like, you need them to learn to read and write and whatever, because I just simply don't have the patience for that. Um, and then once they know those things, then it would be easier to like get, dig into deeper subjects and that kind of stuff. Obviously things have changed and we'll talk about that later, um, but I always said that. I was like, I want to homeschool the kids when they're older, because I feel like they would just thrive better. And
and I'm opposite. I would rather teach him when he's younger, and I have the capability of teaching him 1 plus 1.
see, my patience just it wasn't there. Now I would say that it's gotten better since our situation, but it was just not there. It was just not
Yeah.
there before.
I'm not saying mine's there, I'm just saying I would have an easier. Yeah, I don't know. It is very, very, very tempting though. And I'm
Yeah.
afraid that once I commit, and then I wouldn't be able to go back to another school, which that is not the correct way to look at things. Um, but I would also feel like a failure if I can't make it happen. And I think that's kind of what I'm afraid of too, is failing at it and then having to find a school and go through all that stress again, and then it's you know, because well, and my big carrot over my head with the homeschooling too is the tuition, right? I wouldn't have to pay for the tuition. Yes, I could send him to public school. I could try to find a charter. I could do all these other free versions, but I just don't like those versions, and that's why I chose the private school for many, many reasons. Um, because I don't trust people, but
Fair.
I also don't really trust myself in teaching him, especially in a fun manner, because that's one thing I like about his school specifically is they're fun. And um I don't want his learning experience to be negative because of me.
Yeah.
It's very toss up. The other thing I wanted to mention with the homeschooling is, and it's not really listed on here, but there's a lot of, I don't know if public school, I doubt public school does it, but there's a lot of private schools, and maybe charter schools do it, that do co like home. So it's like you can come in for some of the classes, and then you can also do homeschooling on other days. So it's not like a full days week. It's like part time. And I know a lot of parents that do that. They'll do like half days every single day, or sometimes it's like all day Tuesday, all day Thursday is in the school, but then Monday, Wednesday, Friday are at home. I know a lot of schools have an issue with that because parents don't do their part. They think, "Oh, I can just dink around and then the kid will catch up on the other half days." That is not the case. You still have to try. You still have to act as if your kid is fully in school with you. But that is also very tempting
See, I
because
never
it's,
heard of that until you mentioned that. And I am so very intrigued by that, because then they still get
oh
their
my gosh.
socialization and all that stuff.
Yep.
And and then you have a curriculum to follow, and it's not so much pressure about the
Yes and
curriculum on
no.
you too.
Yeah, it kind of depends. So they have, so like for instance, my son's school specifically, they do both. So like they can you can bring your kid in just of the day, or you can have them come in for the curriculum side of it. So it's like if you have them come in just for the fun, then you do have to find your curriculum. You can follow what the school's doing and the school can guide you on that kind of stuff, but they're not going to feed it to you. Um, you still have to run it and that kind of stuff, but then you can also have your kid go for the curriculum side of it. Um, and you do the fun stuff. So you'll do like the history and the science and the art and that kind of stuff. So you do the extracurriculars, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely sounds cool. I love that. In the future, I definitely will be
Right.
looking into it.
Right. And I'm like, that's one thing. And that's my other thing too, is like when we were talking about when to put your kids, when to offer homeschooling or whatever. I kind of want to offer like high school to be homeschooled, or I don't know. Right now it just kind of depends on when I want to do it. But middle school is the worst. I don't want my kids to go to, I pretty much,
Oh, for
I,
real.
yeah, I just don't want him to go to school at all at middle school. I don't know. Middle school is just the worst. The
Yeah.
kids suck. The teachers are exhausted. There's just, yeah, there's very many reasons. but yeah, so that's basically it. And then this next one, I'll let cousin.
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
I
Sorry,
wanted to
you're
mention
done.
one more thing about homeschooling with curriculums. Since
Oh
we
yeah.
had brought it up, there's something awesome that this girl that we both know actually does. And she can only do it because she was homeschooling, and I think it's brilliant. So her son was really into space, and it was like the only
Okay.
thing he would focus on. And so she couldn't get him to care about anything else. So then she decided that she was going to have everything revolve around space. So like all of his math problems were like, what's the diameter of this planet? And how long would it take you to fly from this planet to this planet if you're going this fast in a rocket?
Ooh.
I just choked on my own spit. Hold on.
Are you choking?
Yeah, okay, I'm good. Hold on.
That was good.
So anyway, it was awesome because she was able to like have her son interested in everything that she was teaching him, and he was excited to learn because it was all about the topic that he had such a passion about. And
Well, no other
I
teacher, I don't care if you're
yeah,
private school or not, you would not do that. Like,
no, absolutely
you
not.
might
You have too
try.
many
Yeah,
kids.
you might try. Exactly. That's just not possible. Yeah.
No. So I loved that, and that's something that my stepmother is homeschooling my other little sister too. And she said the same thing. She was like, my sister is only apparently interested in reading the Bible, which like honestly there could be worse things, right? That's great.
Sure.
Um but I was like, okay, but she didn't want anything to do with math. And I was like, well, there you go. Like create math problems that have to do with the Bible. Like this many
At
people
what
joined
time
the
frame?
crowd. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything. Like how tall was the sea when Moses parted? If it, like
Right.
whatever, like just create all these problems that are Bible related, and then boom, like problem solved. And I feel like that, I don't know, I just feel like that's so huge, and like what an awesome thing to do to get your kid interested and wanting to learn. So I think that that's a cool perk of homeschooling with the curriculum. And then there are also like the thing that I struggled with is that like how you're mentioning they give you the guidelines if you did the part-time
Mm-hmm.
with the other school. There are so many programs out there, and most of them cost money, that give you a curriculum or give you a guideline or whatever. There's also one out there where you buy the books and everything that you need for that 1 year, and then you can sell them back, and then it's like the same as
Ooh,
the
that's
clothing.
nice.
So you can sell them back and then do it
That's
again
another
for the
reason why I
next
don't
year.
like public school, by the way.
But yeah, it's and then there's also like when I was looking into homeschooling, there is a specific program out there for working parents. And that was really awesome too, because I'm the same as you. Like sometimes I get distracted with work, sometimes I have a lot going on, and then I have a
Mm-hmm.
hard time focusing on him. So like it was cool because you could like piece together your weeks, and if you needed to shift something like a light day to a, you know, when you have a heavy day, make the kids' day a light day or whatever,
Right.
like you could do that with the pieces. And it was brilliant. And then also it had shorter days, so that like you said, it was 3 hours, that if work is so crazy until 5 o'clock, you could sit there after work and teach your kid, which I know is not fun, staying until 8 o'clock, because then you got to worry about dinner and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it is an option where if you are really that passionate and you do work in an office 9 to 5 or whatever, it is still something that I guess some parents do. Like I saw plenty of people on there that talked about how they got off work at like 4 o'clock, went home and schooled their child. So
Mm-hmm.
just if you're really
Like,
dedicated, there are ways.
I think there is someone told me that they knew somebody that he would take his lunches. Like, they had like 5 kids, I think, and they homeschooled all of them. The mom did, she didn't work. And then, but the dad would come home and teach them calculus on his lunch breaks.
Who was
So
that?
I don't know, but like, but he like, he still helped. Wasn't all just on one parent.
Right.
Like he took on a part so then she could get a break or whatever.
Yeah, and I
Um,
love that. One
yeah.
of my husband's coworkers, he does the same thing. He said they just turn everything into a schooling experience. Like they go shopping at
Yes.
Costco, the kids are adding up the numbers and everything, and like they know their taxes and what their exact total is going to be at the end. I'm like, that is so smart.
Right. And it's like oh man, the freedom with it. Oh,
Yeah, I agree. I love homeschooling, and it's definitely something I am also considering. There are obviously cons. There are obviously pros. Um, like no breaks from your children. I feel like is kind of
oh,
a
that's a big
con for
one.
some
Yeah.
people. Yeah. And then I think that my biggest struggle with it would be the extracurriculars, because I would feel the need to put my kids in um uh like a band or a music teaching school. Like they'd have to learn an
Oh, that's
instrument, and
easy.
private lessons. Well, private lessons can get it very expensive. Um,
Well, I mean, but
and yeah,
well, I guess I think I'm just kind of used to doing that, but um yeah, finding those extracurriculars is the easy part in my opinion.
I would agree, but my struggle, and maybe it's just out here, my struggle is most of those classes are like Tuesday at 11 a.m. and I still have to work. Like I can't just bring my kid
Oh,
there, because I get it. I totally understand for people that do the traditional homeschooling where the mom is at home or whatever, or the parent is at
mhm.
home. You can do that. And that Tuesday at 11 a.m. is perfect in your schedule because right before lunch and whatever. And I love that for you. But me, on the other hand, I cannot do that. And then I miss out on these opportunities. And then I have to pay, for private lessons or more expensive class or whatever because of my schedule. But that is where, like you had mentioned before, the grant or whatever comes in, where you get that
Mhm.
$4,000 a year, and that's supposed to cover those costs.
Yeah, cuz I mean cuz that's the other thing too is I more worry about not necessarily like band and that kind of stuff. I more worry about sports. And so
Yeah, the
I
sports
already
I'm okay
have
with.
yeah, and like your rec center, your close by rec center probably has some pretty cheap sport options at least to like get
Hmm.
them to see if they're interested in that sport and then you can like go down the line of more professional. But yeah, that's the part I would have easy was the extracurriculars. My thing is the core. Learning the core is the part that stresses me out.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, either way, depending on how you look at it, there's going to be struggles, a lot of
Yeah.
struggles. And I feel like honestly, the homeschooling parents really like they deserve a lot of love because it's hard.
It is hard and like yeah, God bless them.
Yes.
But it is cool. What I think is cool is like it's cool because the kids
So
actually get to learn like that the space situation or the Bible situation. Like the kid gets to learn at their pace and there's not, there's no embarrassment to ask questions because then they might get used to asking questions and then when they actually have to deal with the real world or whatever and they're used to just asking their parent questions, maybe they're just used to not being made fun of at that point and then they'd be more comfortable asking questions. Um but then there's the fact that they'll just learn quicker because they're not being interrupted or distracted and that kind of stuff. There's just so many beautiful benefits to homeschooling. And I love that it's an option because I know that I mean it's not an option for everybody, but I don't think it was as popular even 5-10 years ago. And COVID
yeah.
made a big switch on that too, on how popular homeschooling is.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
now this last one, um, I'll again let cousin talk more about it. Um, but I'm not a fan.
I
Go ahead.
was in the beginning and now I'm not. Anyway, this is online learning. It is public or private schools offer a virtual online learning program allowing students to learn remotely. Um, I thought that I would love this because in like I was saying with my concerns with homeschooling, I didn't feel confident in getting a curriculum together and all that kind of stuff. I felt I was very stressed out about that and I didn't want to throw all the money into it at that time. Uh to like pay for curriculum or whatever. And let me kind of explain our situation as to why I decided to jump into online learning. Um I had to I had to go to Colorado for a couple of months and I had to pull my son out of school early. And if I did that, or if I didn't do that, then we would have gotten in trouble with
The state probably.
truancy, where
Oh,
like
okay.
we would have maybe had like a court date and all this stuff because um I don't know, like you're neglecting your child or whatnot because they're not getting enough time in their education, right?
Mhm.
So if I pulled him out of school, I would have gotten in trouble. I guess I wouldn't have gotten whatever, that doesn't matter. There was just there were just factors, okay? And I considered
Okay.
homeschooling, but it seemed intimidating and we were at the end of the year and so anyways we just jumped right into online learning. Um what I discovered about that is, and maybe it was just the school that I went through, but I had to sit there and I had to read pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of work for him. And it was not like student led. And I know that I just said that I wasn't a fan of the student led and I preferred the teacher led, but this was neither teacher led nor student led. It was parent led. And
Right.
as much as I love the idea of homeschooling, but like if I'm reading my son a 12-page PDF file of a story, I feel like it should be simple enough where he can read it himself and then he can answer the questions after instead of me reading it and then me asking him the questions and me doing all this stuff and me helping him with his test and me doing, and it felt like very much I was spending 5 to 7 probably hours a day doing his schoolwork when I'm also trying to work full time. And it was all on
Yeah,
the teacher's timelines. Like I had to do X amount of classes a day. Mind you, on a slower day, I would get ahead. So we had a few weeks where he didn't have to go to school on Friday because we had caught up throughout the week. So
mhm.
that was really cool. But but yeah, I definitely struggled with that for sure.
And I think that's more the program that you selected. It just seemed a little bit more advanced because in my opinion, if a kid is reading, they should be doing all the reading. There should be no if they're learning how to read, they need to read everything for the rest of their life. There should be no more parent reading to them, unless it's like a special occasion bedtime type stuff.
Yeah.
But when it comes to school, they should be learning because that is just, oh my gosh, like learning how to read. I remember my son in kindergarten, they were having him read because they have sentences for math problems, like if Sally went to the store with 3 watermelons and 2 of them fell out of her cart, how many would be left? They would make him read that. They wouldn't read that to him, even in kindergarten. So I very much believe they should be reading it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I feel like I do feel like it's more your curriculum specifically was hard because that seems quite outrageous. And I don't know, maybe it's because it was at the end of the year and they expected him to be farther because he's in a specific whatever whatever the case is. The reason I don't like online schooling and I didn't like it even before you tested it out was I don't like the kids looking at a computer um, for school. I feel like our kids are already going to struggle with addiction to screens, but by having them take their entire school through screens is I already physically see it at causing issues to my younger siblings who haven't even had they've had normal schooling their whole life. They've been to public schools with books and that kind of stuff their whole life, but then just since COVID and the past couple of years, everything's online and that kind of stuff. And now they literally cannot cope talking to a real person. They naturally feel more comfortable on a computer, and I hate that for them. And they're going to struggle with that. Like we already have anxiety bad enough, um, being a human, let alone now having this protective screen that makes you feel safer than talking to a real person. The other thing too I don't like about it is like I feel like it makes the kid feel um secluded from their parents, if that makes sense. Because it's like, oh, here's a screen, the screen's going to teach you, and the teacher's going to teach you on the screen, but I'm going to be over here and we're just going to ignore each other. So it's like the separation. There's a lot of it that I don't like about it. But I mean, like you said, there's things that you can't teach. There's curriculum things that you want them to learn through an actual teacher that is a benefit. And I thought your online schooling didn't cost money.
It didn't. Did I say it was not free?
No, you said that before you put all the cost into it.
Uh,
Or you said before we put all the money into it, I wanted to.
oh, no, I didn't want to put money into homeschooling at that point, and I didn't want to pay for a curriculum, doing homeschooling, not
Oh,
online
I
schooling.
see. I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So
I see.
it was completely free, and honestly, that was a really cool part. So there are a lot of perks, and when my kids are older, I will still consider it. And hold on, I'm just jumping around. Let me go back a little bit. I agree with you about the being on screen the whole time. I
Mhm.
100% agree with you, and I do believe it's going to cause issues. And like maybe this was just me tricking my own brain into it, but I was also thinking like I didn't want my kid to fall behind with technology because I feel like it is going to be so relevant in their lives that it was okay introducing them this young, that kind of stuff, and it
Dude,
was educational. It wasn't playing games and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I'm not that parent, just, for full disclosure, I'm not that parent that's like, no screens. I definitely have my screen babysitter. Um, I definitely use it. There are definite days, especially during the summer, when I was trying to do it, that he had a lot of screen time versus book time because he was not in the mood, I was not in the mood, and I did it to save our relationship. I just don't
Yeah.
like when it's I don't like when it's, and again, like what you said, this might just be me saying it to make me feel better, but I don't like when it's all they do.
I
And
agree. And at that point where it was like 7 to 8 hours a day, that was too much, especially at his young age. Like he's only 7. That's a crazy amount of
right.
time.
Well, and
And
that's
then
what's
after
crazy to
school, what do you think
me.
he goes and does? He goes and gets on his tablet. So like
Right.
literally 12 hours a day, my kid is sitting there with his face glued to a screen, and it's not great.
Well, and that was my concern because my younger siblings, and they're only 6 and, is it really 6 and 8 years younger than, oh my gosh, no, that is completely wrong. It is 14 and 16 years younger than me. Their childhood till COVID, so just a few years ago, so they would have been 13 to 15-ish, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Um, I think that's about right. They're so yeah, till their young teens, they had the books. They were going to the schools and that kind of stuff. They didn't have the tablets because I know their parents and they didn't do the tablets. They were outside and that kind of stuff. But like you said, later on in life was when they did it, and now they cannot be in public without
Yeah.
having a panic attack. And that is what breaks my heart, is just in these past few years, had nothing to do with their younger childhood. Just in these past few years, it messed them up that bad. And I feel like it's more than just both my siblings.
Yeah.
So that's what freaks me out. And like I know I have a mad addiction to screens. You should see me. I have my personal laptop, I have my work laptop, I have an extra screen so that I can turn one of those laptops into another screen, and I will still pull out my phone. And during all that, I can still watch a movie.
Yep.
Like I have massive screen addiction and I know that and I'm working on it. It's very hard because I do it for work, so I forget that that is my screen time for the day, right? But kids don't know how to work on that. They don't know how to admit it. They just use it as a, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. They're very bullheaded, that's a teenager. So
Yeah.
that's my big concern. And I don't even see how a teacher can teach online. I don't get it. Like what, like there was one there's this funny thing that I saw. And actually, it might have been more of a Zoom meeting than a kid. I thought it was a kid in online learning, but he changed his name to reconnecting dot dot dot.
Oh, I saw that.
So it was a black screen and it just said reconnecting. So they thought that so that he didn't have to pay attention or whatever. And they ended up catching on to him doing that. But I don't know how a teacher can handle that. And then those parents would think like, oh yeah, just throw them in front of the screen, everything's honky dory. It is not honky dory. You still need to monitor it on some form. But yeah, but like I'll do that. I'll do educational videos and that kind of stuff. So that he can still get screen time, but in my head it's educational, so it's not, he's not out watching Peppa Pig or something and losing brain cells.
Right. No,
But that's my feels. I much prefer the homeschooling, and then you figure out the curriculum. And they have so many curriculums out there that are decently cheap. I don't know if they're free. I wouldn't necessarily trust the free ones. But I know people that they're putting together, they like this type of math and this type of history and this type of, reading books. That seems kind of difficult to me. If it were me, I would just go to, hey, I like how the school's doing it. What do you guys do? And just follow their curriculum. That seems pretty easy to me. But there's so many different ways. So I support the homeschooling with a touch of online. And I don't think these kids will have any issue adjusting to electronics. Don't you fret about that, cousin.
Yeah, I honestly, it's not something that is big in my brain, but still, like I said, I think that's how I just switched my mindset so that I was okay with it.
They're like, it's fine. I'm doing them of justice or something.
Yeah, I've got to do this. It's better for him.
Yes. But anyway, so those are all the different types of schools. And I would say my two top are the private and the homeschooling. And my least is the public and the online. Charter and magnet are right in the middle for me.
I agree with you. I mean, honestly, if we could afford private school for both my children, I probably would be pro private. But
that's fair. Yeah.
That's like a huge factor, and I just couldn't afford it. It was like to put my kids in there was like the same amount as my rent or my mortgage. So I was like, that's crazy. Yep. So that is a con I do have with private schools that I don't think we mentioned, but I mean,
we definitely mentioned. Okay. I think that was the first thing I said. The first obvious con is the tuition.
Oh, okay. My bad. But anyways, I do love private schools, but in lieu of that, charter schools are my favorite, and then homeschooling is my favorite, and obviously public school is my least favorite, and I'm still borderline online school, so I won't throw that totally to the wolves yet.
You're just closer.
Yeah, pretty much the only one that I don't like is public school, and
public school.
And that's, like I understand that some people are and we're not judging anybody. Obviously, like your family, you have to make decisions, and some people
you're doing the best you can, man. Yeah.
And some people love public schools. Like our aunt didn't even consider any other option because it was just, like she loved it. She loved that they got tablets in kindergarten, and so all the homework was now remote, and there are plenty of things, and obviously depending on your school district, everything that we said as a con could completely be irrelevant to you. So there's just so blanketed statement. We are not judging. This is just our opinion.
Yep.
But yeah, so we can wrap it up with a quote. This one is from Aristotle. It says, "The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet." So that kind of wraps up all avenues of schooling, because as long as your kids are healthy and learning and whatnot, then that's
the beauty. Well, please remember to like, follow, and comment to connect with us. We are now on Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook pages. Just search Calling Cousins. Love you all. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, health, tax, or professional advice. We are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast. This podcast is not intended to replace professional medical advice.